Hello, welcome back to Mr. Miller's Art Room. Today we are going to be continuing our gradient silhouette landscape. As I explained before, a gradient is when one color slowly and smoothly transitions into another color. And you can do this with almost any color. Not only that, we utilized watercolor in order to create these pictures. As a quick example, this is one of the pictures that I had made originally. Obviously, we had to start with the watercolor first. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually create these trees using oil pastels. Now, in order to create a silhouette, we have to understand what shapes look like and then fill them in completely with the color black. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to demonstrate a variety of different kinds of trees and create silhouettes of their shapes. I'm also going to talk about how most tree branches are constructed in nature so you can have a more realistic looking tree in your picture.
Well, Mr. Miller, what is this thing on my face? What did you do to my face?
Sorry, Mr. Monocle. I was cutting pickles the other night and I accidentally cut my thumb, so your face is going to have a little bit of a bandage on it.
Yes, well, be careful next time.
I will.
Nevertheless, what tree are we going to start with today?
I think that we should start with a maple tree. First, I'm going to find myself a black oil pastel. Then I'm going to go ahead and create the maple tree. What I'm going to do here is, instead of just having a tree floating in the space, I'm going to start by drawing some grass by moving my oil pastel up and down to create a sort of grass-like texture. Now, maple trees in real life are very beautiful deciduous trees.
Deciduous? What does that mean?
That means that the leaves change colors in the fall and they fall off.
Yes, I've seen those before.
Maple trees can come in all different shapes and sizes. Typically, they have seeds that look like little helicopter blades that when they fall, they can fly into the air and land somewhere where they might be able to grow a brand new tree. I'm going to draw this particular maple tree. This maple tree is going to have a trunk that moves up. Let's make it a little bit taller. Then a branch will come out. Now, the thing about branches is that when they go out of the trunk, there's going to be another one, but they don't come out directly next to it. We go up the tree trunk a little bit, and then another trunk can come out. As the tree trunk grows up into the sky, the branches will actually get smaller. That way they don't break off and fall. Now, the other thing is that the branches themselves can have little branches coming off of them, and they follow the same rule. For instance, if this branch down here had a branch come off of it, well, you wouldn't see another one down here. You'd go up the branch a little bit and make a little tiny branch, almost like a letter in the alphabet. Let's see if you can guess this letter, Mr. Monocle.
Well, Mr. Miller, I'd say that looks just like the letter Y.
That's correct. It's like having a whole bunch of letter Y's on your tree, just like this. Now, once you've gotten it to this point, we don't want to make it too complex or too big. What we're going to do is fill in the foliage. Can everybody say foliage? Now, foliage is just a fancy word for the leaves. The way I'm going to create my foliage is that I'm going to put my oil pastel and make little tiny circles. Now, we want them to touch the branches a little bit, but we don't have to cover up the whole branch. We just want to fill that in just like this. It's okay if there are some spots where you can still see the white of the paper, because that's going to be like when you look up at a tree and you can see a little bit of the sky through the leaves, just like that. The next kind of tree that we're going to create is going to be an oak tree. An oak tree has a different shaped kind of leaf, and more importantly, their seeds are called acorns. And you'll see those, they look like little nuts. Squirrels love acorns, and they'll find them and then hide them away for the winter so they have something to eat when it's nice and frosty and cold. We're going to start with the grass. Oak trees, especially when they get older, can have very thick trunks. So this one I'm going to make very thick. Then the branches are going to be a little bit more complex, just like this. Now, oak trees no, I'm sorry, maple trees can have very thick trunks as well, but the oak is pretty famous for it. We're going to go ahead and make that. And then for the leaves themselves, it's going to be kind of the same thing. I'm going to start in circles, go around the tree, create the canopy, which is the top of the tree. That's where a lot of animals and birds and squirrels live. And then you have it there. We've made ourselves an oak. The next kind of tree is going to be a cherry blossom tree, which is a very famous tree you can find natively in Japan, but they're all over the world as well. We're going to start with the grass. The cool thing about the cherry blossom tree is that they have a beautiful barky trunk, and then sometimes they can go off in different directions. And they have beautiful branches that branch out just like so. And when we do our Japanese painting unit, we're actually going to be practicing painting some cherry blossom paintings, just like this. Now, for the leaves, of course, what we'll do is we'll come in like this with little circles, just like that. The last kind of tree that we're going to draw is something called an evergreen. An evergreen tree is a tree that stays green all year long, and you'll know them because not only are they green in the winter, but they have special leaves called needles. Those needles can be long or short, but one thing remains the same. They have a different kind of shape to them. Once again, I'm going to start with the grass, and very often pine trees or evergreen trees, they grow nice, straight, and tall. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw the trunk nice and tall like this. Then what I'm going to do is add the branches. Now the branches, sometimes they go straight out, or they go up a little bit, or sometimes they hang down. The kind of branch I'm going to make is going to point down a little bit. Go from one side to the other, create a series of Ys. They get shorter as they go up the tree, so they don't get too heavy and fall off. And then for the needles, we're not going to draw every single needle. I'm going to use a sort of sketchy diagonal line for this side and leave some trunk at the bottom, some space at the bottom for the trunk. And then I'm going to come down on this side with the diagonal line, just like this. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, because this isn't perfect, class.
It's art class.
Very good. Now, these are just 4 different kinds of trees, and maybe you want your trees to look a little bit different.
That's all well and good, Mr. Miller, but what are we supposed to do with this?
What we're going to do is we're going to create a landscape or a picture of the outside world on these pictures using our oil pastel silhouette. We're going to start with the grass, and then we're going to add 2 to 3 different trees. We don't want the trees to be too big, because then we're going to lose all of this beautiful painting that you worked on. We don't want them to be too small, because we want to have some freedom to show the shape of our silhouettes. So we're going to start with the grass. Then once we've done the grass, we're going to take a look at our tree silhouette papers and then figure out what kind of a tree you would like to have. I think what I'd like to do is add a maple tree and maybe a couple of these pine trees. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do my trunk and then add a couple of branches. Remember, one goes on one side. We'll add the letter Y over here. Another trunk on this side. I always like to, not trunk, branch. I always like to do my branches first before I do the leaves. Even though some of the branches might get lost in the leaves, that's okay, because as long as they're there, then something cool will show up. And if they make the branches disappear, well, that's okay. Sometimes we don't see all the branches underneath the leaves. Well, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to try. I want to do a tall pine tree and then a short pine tree. So maybe I'll do one right here, nice and tall. I'll do some of the branches that come down like this. And it's okay if some of the trees overlap each other. That's fine. Trees visually overlap each other in the woods anyway. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my sketchy diagonal line pine needles like this. Save some space at the bottom, so you don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You want to be able to see the tree trunk. Now I did a tall one. I'm going to do a short one and a little bit further over. So kind of shorter, small branches like this. Maybe this one has a couple of branches off that branch. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my pine needle, just like that. They get thinner at the top, so make it go wider toward the bottom. And that's all there is to it. You have yourself a gradient painted silhouette landscape. Thank you all very much for watching part 2 of this video series, and I hope you have a good time creating this artwork. For Mr. Monocle and I, we say good day.
We said good day.